Well, hello everyone. You have right here, shown right here is a painting of the duckies right here, and I'm sure most of us have seen that before. To where that if you're going to be looking at any ducks, and maybe if it's geese or any other sorts of birds like that, but you see right here that I went and painted this right here. Of this right here was supposed to be the duckies right here, but talk about for typical greeting cards, right? And you're warned to where that really that. Each time you see an activity book, for sure that you're warned to where, okay, yeah, that what's one way of how to get some. I'm like, yeah, like kids, if there's going to be an activity book or something like that, they're going to probably say that, hey, that whenever it comes to an activity book, though, that you're warned to where that whenever it comes to stickers, using stickers and all that, but really, whenever you look at a picture of a duck right here, and you might think that, okay, yeah, if you go ahead and see any spots where you see white, where you see white spots or something like that. So what does that usually mean whenever you do see any portions of the painting that show white right there? And some of these, yeah, everybody else might say that that usually means that that's a part where you got the erase option or something like that. But really, how many of us would maybe think that that's really provided there mainly because that yeah, if it's an activity book, for sure, if it's an activity book, go ahead and color in the rest, the rest of the picture right there, and the rest of yeah, if it's supposed to be an activity book. And so we might think that is toward, okay, yeah, if we're talking about ducklings or something like that, if we are talking about ducklings, then you're warned toward, okay, yeah, the ducklings right there. The ducklings actually show is that you got the mother duck, the duckling right here. I want the little ducklings right there. And you're warned toward, yeah, you have the white right there. But really, what does the white pretty much mean? That pretty much means is that, yeah, that's the areas where you would go ahead and color in the rest of the portions of it. Like, yeah, if it's the feathers or any other details of the duck right there, and then also whenever it comes to, yeah, the ducklings right there. And so that's why it seems like that whenever it comes to the ducklings, though, that you see this right here, you got the ducklings right there. But anybody might say, yeah, you like looking at the ducklings, the feet of the ducklings, and also the little ducklings right there. So here, anybody might say that, yeah, that you're going to be looking at the marching ducklings right here. But still, I'll go ahead and select layer right here, and so that way I can paint the ducklings right here. But it's like, yeah, so you see this right here, that talking about with the ducklings right here. How cute is that whenever you do see marching ducklings? And people might say, yeah, the marching ducklings, like, and yeah, the marching ducklings. Marching ducklings are basically that, like, yeah, the little ducklings, the baby ducks, and then you got the mother duck right here. And you're thinking that, hey, that when we do speak about ducks a lot of times, ducklings, then, yeah, that do we think that that's pretty cute when we see that, to where that we got the marching ducklings? And anybody think that, yeah, well, the marching ducklings, right? The marching ducklings are the little ducklings right there that are going to be following mommy right there. So if I were to say that, tell a story about that, about the marching ducklings right here. And so I'll go and show everybody here that we got the marching ducklings right here. But you think as to where if you would be telling a story about the marching ducklings, well, what about the marching ducklings? So any kids are going to maybe think that, yeah, you go ahead and tell a story about the marching ducklings right here, and thinking as toward, okay, yeah, well, really, what story do you think that you would want to hear about? And so I would like want to know too, maybe just a little bit, that maybe why don't they have greeting cards like that, to where that they would have like marching ducklings, talk about marching ducklings. And yeah, have you ever really seen it on a greeting card? And everybody say that, well, not really. I'm like, you haven't really seen any of that stuff on a greeting card, on a typical greeting card. But let's just say if it was on a greeting card, that knowing about what the ducklings would be saying. And But still, that when we do speak about ducklings, a lot of times that you're thinking that hey, that talking about ducks right here, the ducklings, and if we're talking about maybe 8 of them or maybe 10 of them all together, and thinking as toward that yeah, with the ducklings right there, if we're talking about maybe 8 of them all together in a group, and your word toward yeah, that you see that on the insurance commercials a lot of times, like if you've heard of Aflac and if you've also heard of, but still, like everybody might say that other than on the greeting card, that if you see the mother duckling with a few marching duckies right there, what exactly is that going to remind you of necessarily? Is that going to kind of remind you of stay together or something like that, or is it going to kind of remind you just a little bit of fun on the farm or something like that, or is it going to maybe remind you of insurance? And like everybody else would say that I actually look at that more as toward that yeah, you got the mother duckling right here, but if you want to look at that, maybe like an example of an insurance page, that maybe another reason why the insurance pages would talk about that is mainly because of the fact that whenever whenever a baby duckling is born, and then that yeah, the first living thing that they see is known to be known as to assume that it's its mother, right? And so that's why they say is to where if you have a little duckling right here, and at 102 that yeah, that mother duckling, of course, is going to be leading the little ducklings around, and that's why it seems like that everybody said that you may see that on an activity book, by the way, that you see a picture right here. But what do you call it whenever you see a few white spots, to where you got a white spot right here, maybe a few stickers, and you're warned to where that hey, that with those stickers right there, those stickers are supposed to help guide the little ducklings. So it's like if these marching ducklings were trying to find their way, maybe to get to the ponds or somewhere like that, and you might think that yeah, you go ahead and place the stickers with the arrows as to where to please follow these arrows, so that way that follow these arrows right here, so that way that you would be able to get to where you're trying to go, and like anywhere else I'm like that, but still anywhere else I'm like yeah. On the activity book, by the way, it's like the activity book that you would have these stickers, and you would have it to where that whenever it comes to leading the ducks, guiding the ducks for where they're trying to go, and where they need to go. And, but I'll go and show where, like, yeah, this right here is supposed to be a white spot of a duckling right here, and want to know too that yeah, you see areas where it contains white right there, but you're warned to where that yeah, why is it that certain spots of the coloring are white, but then this part right here is like a blue type color? And so every time you think about that, and let's just say if you're working with about maybe 4 or 5 different colors, and at 102 that with this activity book, the activity book is going to ask you to please find the 2 other colors that match to help the duck, and to match the duck with where they're trying to go or something like that. So you got the duckling right here, and then you see right here with the feet right here. So like everybody might say, if you are going to be looking at the duckling right here, and you see right here is that you go ahead and draw the feet right down here. You got the feet right there, and people might say that yeah, how cute is that? You got the duckling with the feet right here, and kids might say that do you find that to be pretty adorable? When we do talk about little ducklings right there, little ducklings, and maybe if you're trying to paint them like if they're actually marching ducklings or something, but you got the ducklings right there. So like, let's just say if you had this right here, and let's just say that if you're trying to use this as an example for insurance or something like that, like everybody might say that really that you might see that maybe on like a logo design or something like that, to where that little duckling right there is trying to find its mommy or something like that, and maybe that's another reason why people might say that looks real nice and adorable, especially maybe if it's on like an insurance catalog or something like that. But we're also talking about that with these ducklings, that if we're talking about like maybe the wild birds or something, that 102, that you look at the activity books and you're thinking, hey, that why is it that that you see that, or that you see you may see stickers or something like that, but how come what you see is you see some white spots right there, and that usually means please color in at the rest of the details right there of the duckling right there. So you have right here, yeah. And a lot of ducklings, people might say if you go in and add a little bit of brown right there to the bottom of the feet right there, but still, like if they're marching or something. But so you got right there is a duckling right there, but it's like you're warned to where if you have about maybe a group of about maybe 8 other ducklings, and people might say if you've done the math right in 102 that yeah, you see the duckling right there, but then you see the beak right there of the duckling, and so like yeah, almost every activity book that I've seen for sure that they're going to say that you go ahead and color in the picture right there. That this right here is supposed to look like a duckling, but still that you're thinking as to what does it usually mean if you do see any spots that show white right there, like if you have any white spots right there, and usually that means that please color in the rest of the missing information or something like that, or like yeah, please color that in just to be able to help the duck or something like that, and to lead the duck, like lead the duck, for where they're trying to go, and so that's why it seems like that whenever you think about that, and it's like yeah, anywhere where you see white right there, and that usually means color in the details right there, and so if I were to yeah color in the details right there, and everybody would say that if you want to add in a few text and so on and such, but I'll go ahead and paint right here the details right there of the feet right there, and everybody might say that yeah, if you go ahead and paint in the details right there of the feet right there, and people might say that yeah, you look at the feet right there of the duck, and people might say that yeah, if you looked real closely right there in 102 that you got the duck right there, you got the feet of the duck right there, but it's like why does that seem to be so adorable? Like if you were to actually paint the picture of that in 102 that if you look real closely right there, people might say that that looks so adorable right there, and for any reason at all, why does it look so adorable like that? And so that's why it seems like, yeah, I'll paint right here. You got the duck right there. But really, that whenever you look at the paintings of the ducklings right there, and you're warned to where, yeah, if you want to paint in right there too. But still, that you put in a little bit of detail, and I'll go and put a little bit right here, put a little bit right there for the eyes, just to try to get their eyes to come up. And everybody might say that yeah, if that right there was supposed to be a logo design or something like that, and at 102 that that right there is supposed to be a duckling right there. That's supposed to be a little duckling right there, and supposed to be a little duckling right there, and 102 that whenever you draw that, and you're warned to where hey that yeah, so you paint in the duckling right there, but you're warned too that that you see that on the activity books that with these ducks that you warned too that you start out with anywhere where it looks like you just follow the white areas, just so that we can color them in, right? But I'm also talking about like most of the time it's insurance, insurance pages or something like that they usually that. But still, if you actually were to color in the areas like anywhere where there's black, and people might say that yeah, well really that maybe you would do that maybe if you were working with like maybe a magic coloring book or something like that. But if you were to color and like maybe put a little purple. If you want to go and color in this duckling right here, put a little purple right there. So really, I'm like, purple's not really used very much, but like everybody might say that if you were to actually color in the duckling right there, put purple right there, color that necking right there with purple, and what does purple really represent? Well, really that purple can. Everybody might say that, yeah, well, purple though. That why do you think? Do you think that maybe that would be another good color for maybe for a rainbow? Like yeah, rainbow right there. So you got rainbow colors right there. I'll go ahead and put a little bit of yellow right there around the ducky right there. But still, have right there is with the yellow, and people might say that yeah, it would look good. If you want to kind of give it like a little rainbow type look right there, like you got all the rainbow like type colors. You got the purple and red and green right there, but half the time you'll want to know too that whenever you do look at the duckling right there, that the first thing that you think about whenever you first start coloring is that you look at the areas where it looks like it's white, where it can use a little bit more color, just to bring out, the source of art, right? And but the first thing that I would probably start out with, like everybody might say, that really, why do you think, if you're going to be thinking about ducklings, why do you think that you wouldn't want to start out with working with the feet? You want to make the feet look a little bit more realistic, and everybody might say, yeah, whenever you do that, by the way, that, whenever you do, yeah, almost every duckling might say that, go ahead and give the duckling just a little bit of artistic feet right there. Just so like, yeah, do you think that looks real cute like that right there, then compared to putting in the details right there of the beak and all that, but still. But I have right there, with the feet, right here, but still. So almost every insurance commercial that you're going to maybe see that, like Aflac, that you're going to see that to where that the logo right there, but still, what does all that really mean in general? And everybody might say that what that pretty much means is to where that, yeah, that think of insurance just like your parents, but we're talking about is to where that, yeah, insurance is supposed to mean is to where that, well, yeah, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of everything, and so it sure seems that way. If you got Mother Duck right here, and 102, that maybe that's another reasons why insurance companies would use that, is to where that, yeah, that it's supposed to be like a source of protection. It's supposed to be like a source of guidance to where that this is what you can and cannot do right here, or the best options. What are the best benefits that are provided to you, and such and such. But if we're talking about maybe if we're going to see something like this, maybe on a greeting card for sure, like everybody might say that if you would actually do the math right there, and 102 that you see 3 little duckies right there, and 102 that, yeah. So could you possibly use it like maybe like a little math equation or something like that, but still. But I'll go and paint right here with the duck right here. You got the duck right here, and people might say, yeah, the mother ducky right there. And 102 that if you put a little pink, I don't know how many of us would say that, yeah, the color of pink on a duck. And but still, whenever you first started coloring, though, that you would actually see that. You would see areas where it would show the white. You got like, yeah, I can paint little feathers right there, but yeah, you got the white artistic feathers right there, but it's like your word to where what's one thing that you can use just to be able to bring out the artistic details a little bit more with that. And like everybody would say is to where, okay, yeah, maybe add a little bit of gray right there, but still, yeah, it looks a little bit more like Easter, right? So yeah, you got the feathers right there. So if that right there is supposed to be the feathers, and if I were to make the brush just a little bit smaller right there, and then go ahead and paint around. So if you're going to be tracing around that right there. So really, I'm like, anybody who's going to be painting a picture might say that they prefer it that way. Go ahead and paint the details of the inside first, and then go ahead and trace around it. And do artists think that that's a little bit more convenient to do that? to go ahead and trace around the object right there, just because of the fact that you know a little bit more of the details of what's considered to be on the inside. You paint in the outside, you trace over the object mainly because with the black, so that way we can all see, the main objective. So it's like those colors are not going to show up very well if you just have all of them kind of just all blotted right there in one spot. And so you got the ducky right there, and everybody might say that, yeah, so if this is another way of how you want to go ahead and do your art right here, that you go ahead and paint in the details right there of the ducky, but then you add right there, you add the details right there of the inside right there. So you go ahead and use your brush, and then you go ahead and paint right here. Go ahead and use the brush right here, and take your brush, and then you go ahead and select the layer, and then you go ahead and take your brush, and then from there, and then you would paint over that, right? And then you go ahead and go ahead and select this, take your brush, and over like that. And then from there, and then what you would do is that you would go ahead and paint in the details right there of the feathers, right? So if I were to use that, like, details, maybe make it a little bit darker. Yeah, so if those right there were supposed to be the feathers, and if I were to select this layer right here, and then go ahead and then add in the feathers right there, they might say that that's how you think that you would want to do art. You want to go ahead and include if you want to include the object or the subject matter first, and then you go ahead and paint in the outside. Go ahead and trace over that. So if we all see what I'm doing here, I'm painting the feathers right here, but then I had to create a new layer right there just to be able to add in a few feathers right there. So how many of us would prefer to go ahead and do art that way, to where you go ahead and color in the subject matter, but then you go ahead and trace over that. You go ahead and add right here the outlines, trace in the outlines just like that. And do we prefer to go ahead and do art like that, to where you go ahead and color in the details, but then you go ahead and trace the outlines right there? And so if you want to kind of look at it, maybe just a little bit like a border right there. You got like a border to where that it's all right there. It's placed on the inside right there, but then what you're doing is you're creating a border for it, just to kind of keep it all inside. And do we prefer to do art that way, to where you're trying to draw the objects in there, but then just to be able to keep them all in there? Yeah, you're not sure what you're doing. You're not exactly sure what you're doing, but you're just trying to paint in the details for what you want to use. Paint in those details, and then you go ahead and trace, the outside. And, so any artist might say that, they prefer it to be a little bit, that's how their kids like to do that. You go ahead and draw trace in the outlines right there, but, that's how you want to do your art, right? That you want to go ahead and, whenever you draw something from scratch, you want to go ahead and paint in the details first, and then you want to go ahead and put the outlines in there. And so really, I'm like, like everybody might say that the outlines really don't have to be there for sure. Like you might think that whenever you do draw a picture, for sure, that the outlines are basically is that you're tracing over the object, right? You're tracing over it, and whenever you do that, like everybody might say that, you don't really see no purpose to why you want to do that, but just to be able to show the appearance a little bit more. And they say if you're trying to paint the picture and thinking is that, you go and trace over the object right there. So whenever you do that, what exactly is it that you're doing? You're trying to show everybody that, I guess you could say, the condensity of the colors right there. And So if whenever you do that, for sure, that everybody's able to see those colors. They're able to see the object just a little bit more whenever you do that. And so you got the feathers right there, and yeah, so those are supposed to be the feathers right there. And maybe if you want to go ahead, maybe do the same thing with the body of the duck or something. But tell everybody that yeah, you got the feathers right there. Yeah, it's already there. All you gotta do is just draw painting the feathers right there, and with a little bit of black right there, and go ahead and paint those in right there. Yeah, right there. That right there is supposed to be the feathers. Yeah, everybody might say that. Yeah, if you were to go ahead and paint a little bit anything artistic, for sure that it's like you want to know too that if you have your own preferences for how your own preference for how you want to do the art, right? But how many of us do we prefer to go ahead and trace over the object? And you're 102 that do most artists find that to be more convenient to just trace over the object, so that way it's all right there, after you paint in the details for what you want to use for the colors, and then maybe for the, I'm like, yeah, especially if we're talking about working with different layers, but still, so if that right there is supposed to be the feathers, right, and of the duck, and 102, that, hey, that, you go ahead and paint in the details right there of the inside of the duck right there, but you're also 102 that, that why are you spending so much time tracing over the object? And so whenever you trace over the object, by the way, what you're basically are doing is you're trying to show everybody what you're working with. And it's kind of hard to see that whenever you're just staring at colors. So if you go ahead and trace over the object like that, and 102, that, yeah. So that way you can see the eye a little bit more whenever you do that. And maybe so there do the same thing with the feet right there. And so yeah, if you trace over the feet like that, so that way everybody can see the feet right there. So yeah, after you get done drawing the object right there, then you go ahead and take the time to go ahead and trace over that. And do most artists prefer it that way? Mainly because of the fact that yeah, so that way you can see it a little bit more. You can see it better if you do that. Most activity books would say that, go ahead and trace over that, so that way you can see it, a little bit more clear. Instead of having all those colors right there, not everybody's able to tell what objects are in the picture right there. And so there you have it. I'm like, it don't really look like an actual photograph, but like everybody might say that you can actually see the objects right there. And 102, that right there looks like a duck right there, but it's like you 102 that whenever you do paint, that doesn't really help out a lot to be able to trace over the object, so that way that it can bring out the object a little bit more, especially if we're talking about on a canvas, like if you're working with a yellow canvas or something like that, to go ahead and trace to bring those the objects out a little bit more whenever you trace around the object like that. But in case of anybody's 102, that why is it that maybe a lot of artists don't prefer tracing, they prefer drawing? Well, you would for sure you would want to go ahead, and if you want to go ahead and trace over an object, mainly because of the fact that if you're going to be maybe using it as a guide or something like that, but like the artist would say that if you're trying to bring out the colors a little bit more, what you're using you're using a darker color whenever you do that. And so whenever you use a darker color to do that, you're tracing around the object, so that way you can kind of get an idea of what that object is, and then knowing that what it's supposed to represent right there. And so I'll go and add right here is with the text right there, but if we go see what I was doing there, that I was actually painting in the duck right there. But you see right here, yeah, I'll go and add a duck right here. the word duck right there for duckling. Yeah, I'm trying to get it in there. It could be, geese also. It could be ducklings or geese, but still, like every time you do think about that, and you want to know too that, yeah, ducks and geese. So every time you think about that, and you want to know too yeah, whenever it comes to ducklings and everything, and the ducks and geese, and so you're thinking is to where, okay, yeah, you add some text right there, and want to know that you got the ducks right there, but still, add a story right there, but you got the marching ducks right here, and so really, that you go ahead and tell a story about talking about the ducks right there, and want to know just a little bit too that what about the ducks, the marching geese and all that. But still, I'll tell everybody that yeah, whenever you do think about that, and you want to know too, if you actually do the math, that yeah, that they're marching, marching ducks, and I'm going to put that right there, marching ducks, and marching, and yeah, the leading ducks or something like that. But so yeah, you go ahead and trace around the object right here, and everybody might say too that you would do that like in Illustrator, but still. I if anything, if the colors are going to be bright enough, then like everybody say, you would see that object just fine. But everybody might say that you want to go ahead and do that mainly so that way you can bring out the object a little bit. Like yeah, you trace around the object right there, and yeah, a lot of artists would find that to be real convenient just because of the fact that what you're trying to illustrate right here is you're trying to bring the color out just a little bit more. That whenever it comes to showing somebody something, that you go ahead and bring out those details a little bit more. And so if you're going to have a color right there, you go and trace around it, and then everybody say, yeah, well, you can see it a little bit more. You can see the object a little bit more whenever you trace around it. So that way you can see that, yeah, that right there is supposed to be a duck right there. And so really, I mean, I really don't know. In case if anybody's want to know too, that almost every source of artwork that you do look at right here, that whenever you draw that right there, and you're always want to know too that whenever you make the outside darker, and you're always want to know too that right there, it looks like it don't look like too much of a picture or anything like that, but I'm kind of like want to know too that how come that you don't really see very many greeting cards like that? Like greeting cards that contain duckies, any ducklings or anything like that. And if anything, maybe around Easter, like maybe for on Easter during Easter events or something like that. Yeah, usually around Easter time that you would usually see greeting cards like that, but still. But on the other hand, that you see that greeting card in year 102 that yeah, that you see these ducklings right here, and what does that usually mean whenever you see little ducklings marching around like that? But everybody might say that what that usually means is that yeah, that they're all together as a group or something like that, or that yeah, that they're following. I'm like yeah, that they're getting assistance by mommy or something like that. But still. So if you're going to be painting any pictures of ducks, maybe if they're going to be flying ducks or anything like that, flying geese, and you're thinking is that you're painting those pictures right there and thinking that, yeah, you see little ducklings right there. And the first thing that you're thinking about is that, yeah, you got the ducklings right there, the marching ducklings right there. And do they have to be really numbered in order or something like that? But still. But you got that, you got the marching ducklings right there. But anyway, marching ducklings, right? But I was going to say that, yeah, that painting in the details of the ducklings. But I was just thinking that do you think that it looks kind of cute, look like that, where you see the duck right there along with the little ducklings right there. They're going to be staying close to mommy, and but still, you're thinking is that that whenever you do see that a lot of times, and you're one of too, that yeah, is that going to kind of remind you of insurance, or is that going to kind of remind you maybe just a little bit more Easter, or maybe that if you do see duckies, maybe in the ponds or near the lakes or somewhere like that, and thinking as to where, yeah, with ducks, ducks are just part of nature, right? Whenever you see them, you see them. But anyway, the way I think about it, when we do see ducks, by the way, that you see an activity duck with a few stickers and 102, that yeah, you spend so much time trying to draw in the feathers right there. You got the feathers right there along with the beak right there. But everybody might say if you were to actually spend more time painting in the feathers right there and 102, that everybody say you spend so much time making them real artistic, and people might say that yeah, well that people, a lot of artists find that to be hard to do, by the way. So spend so much time painting in the feathers right there rather than just using a few lines and patterns and all that just to make it look real artistic. Anything artistic that you can use, that you paint the feathers like that. But anyway, you got the feathers along with the colors and all that. But topic for the Marching Ducks.